So, just to set a context, when I was approached by Franchise India to speak about omni-channel supply chain, I was frankly in two minds whether to come here or not because, I mean, while I was given a very generous introduction, omni-channel supply chain frankly doesn't exist in India, and there are very few people who understand it. So, some of what I am trying to cover in this presentation, I'll keep it very brief, will actually run us through what may seem like basics to this group, but that is what I fundamentally believe in. And if there is one message, so to say, that resonates with me that I would want this group to take away is omni-channel supply chain is fundamentally no different from that of a brick and mortar or an e-retail supply chain, if you will. It's only the level of complexity, the level of sophistication, the level of interlinkages that make it different. E-commerce really emerging as the next sector. Within e-commerce, e-retail is roughly about 40% globally. Cut to India, this is seriously in a significant nascent stage. I mean, we have still not reached that level where e-commerce and e-retail, specifically within that, can demand collaboration with some of the larger CPG or other consumer goods, consumer durables companies. If we look at where emerging markets and therefore India lies within this spectrum, we are seeing strong growth potential largely due to lack of infrastructure that has been there historically, predominantly being internet penetration. See, if I look at a parallel in terms of retail channels in India, the thing that strikes me is organized retail or modern trade, as we call it. Modern trade is growing globally. India is very small in modern trade, less than 0.5% of the total retail channel. If we look at where e-commerce and therefore omni-channel, which sort of borrows a lot in terms of its basic functioning from e-commerce, lies today, I believe it is going to go through similar birth pangs, similar learning curve than what organized retail went through over the last 15 years, just that what took 15 years to cover will probably take 15 months to 2 years to traverse right now. So if I were to look at what's there on the right-hand side, identifying the right products and the markets, understanding the customer, and choosing and developing the right supply model, they were modern trade key success factors some years back. They are actually e-retail key success factors right now. So omni-channel, as all of you would be knowing, is leveraging all the channels that we have consistently and seamlessly to focus on the customer, not the channel, not the product, but focus on the customer. That was the genesis of omni-channel. The three key factors which globally defines this channel, and globally also this is a very new phenomenon. I think some of the so-called omni-retailers have been in vogue since, if I can last remember, let's say H2 2008, right? That's where this channel really picked up globally. Consistent customer experience, and I have intentionally put some question marks on the product price promotion angle, because while globally it is a done deal that across all the different channels we will have the same product, same price, same promotions, we believe as the key winning themes. And part of the reason why I am comfortable speaking about this channel right now is I believe supply chain excellence, and therefore how we are able to profitably manage this channel. I think the challenge is how can we get bottom lines, how can we get profits through something like this. Some of the other things, seamless integration across channels, predictive sales analytics, right? We will now be in a position to get a plethora of information, knowing what to use, how to use, to be able to seamlessly, capture that and then arm our customer service executives with that information so that the information doesn't reside with merchants sitting at the back end, but with the customer service executives who are interacting with the customers becomes critical in this. And finally, I mean, no-brainer, robust IT infrastructure to provide inventory visibility, to provide information, and to facilitate flow of goods. If I look at an e-retailer, a standalone e-retailer has indeterministic demand nodes. We don't know where we have to supply. Whereas if you look at omni-channel, then we actually have a mix of deterministic brick and mortar demand nodes and indeterministic, all the other, whether they be m-commerce, e-commerce, or whatever you call it, demand nodes. In omni-channel, it becomes very critical to look at all physical nodes as part of our supply chain. Again, we need solution themes along 3 dimensions. Supply chain complexity, which is how can we simplify our supply network while maintaining what I call as customer relevant service levels. First, decide what inventory to keep, then where to keep it, and how much to store it, right? And finally, how to ensure that we are profitable. We believe that omni-channel needs a flexible supply network where, as I said, we need to look at all our nodes as part of the supply chain, especially right up to the store level, which provide a deterministic demand for us, and use those nodes to feed in the points where we will need to serve our indeterministic customer demand location. So just to provide a tangible example, the stores can double up as fulfillment centers, right, for standard SKUs, while we ought to be keeping some of the relatively high margin but potentially low volume, potentially high variability SKUs at an upstream node. Similarly, in terms of inventory management, again, if you look at what we talked about in the beginning, right? Right now, the so-called loosely used term bargaining power of omni-retailers, e-retailers is significantly low. But if we look at from an e-retail to an omni-retail concept, we have to work and collaborate along with our vendors and convince them of a winning proposition of a traditional vendor-managed inventory, because omni-retail venture will not be able to stand on its feet profitably if we were to store all the inventory at our end. Eventually, like in any supply chain decision, we need to be very clear about the trade-offs that we are making, whether it's about providing flexibility versus complexity, whether it's about providing a coordinated inventory management, however, ensuring that I'm providing the customer relevant service level. And finally, what is it that I'm going for? And it'll not be an either or answer, it'll have to be a balance, whether I'm looking at my current cost to serve or whether I'm looking at expected customer revenue, which is a medium term versus a short versus a long term phenomenon.